Hey there. I'm so excited to finally introduce my first full line of electric guitars. All unique shapes and styles, all new designs. Some are more original than others, I'm sure that you can see, but let's dig on into it. Let's go. Super excited. Like I said, I've been working like on the past 8 or 9 months just on this line alone. I come from a design background. I have a degree in industrial design, which is product design and manufacturing. And even in college, this is what I chose to do because I had a professor who said, you can do the thing where you join a design firm and you do kitchen items and household stuff, and it just that really didn't excite me. But he said, um, if you really want to do something interesting, pick a hobby and see what you can do with that. And I'm like, guitar designer, like that sounds pretty cool. I don't really hear a whole lot about that. So, you know, um, 12 years in the making has finally you know, come to this point where I've released my own line of guitars. I've done signature guitars for a few people and one-offs here or there, but this is really the start to Sunland Guitars right now. So this is the Dynasty Collection. The reason why I called it the Dynasty Collection is because this is what I see taking Sunland Guitars into the future and really taking it to that next level. And these are the designs that are going to carry not maybe not just this brand, but hopefully the guitar industry into new and exciting times. The shapes and the sizes and everything, I want to kind of go over real quick. Like these are all renders here on this video. They aren't real pictures of guitars, so you're going to see some weird kind of thicknesses or some things that aren't really quite the way they probably should be, and some things that aren't going to be that way when I actually build them. These renders are really just so that you get an idea of scale and picture and what they look like realistically instead of just an outline. A little bit of background on the Dynasty Collection here. These are all Florida inspired guitars. As you can probably guess, Sunland comes from like a nickname for Florida, and I really wanted to create a line of guitars that embodies, Florida wildlife and plant life, the things that make Florida Florida, and beyond like what maybe the mainstream or outsiders know of it. But to me, Florida is such a beautiful place with, you know, lush greenery and forest, and then you have the beaches and springs, and there's so much beauty here in this, vast state. A lot of that gets overlooked. So this one popped up here. This is the only guitar, the Sundog, that was not designed in this design process of being like Florida inspired for me. This design here is kind of an edit of a Tele style guitar that I've been working on for 8 years. And I really wanted to pull it over into the Dynasty Collection because I didn't want it to just be one of my classic styles for a Tele. I wanted it to be open so that it's not just a Tele setup, but it can have, a Strat setup. It can have two humbuckers. It can have an HSH setup. Really, whatever you want on these guitars, you can make it. Because I'm making these by hand, and these guitars aren't going to be mine when I'm done with them. They're going to be yours. So I don't think it's fair for me to decide, well, this guitar is only going to be offered this way, and this one's only going to be offered this way, and these are the only specs for the neck, and these are the only specs or the only options for the headstock. I just think that's silly. If I'm going to be building these by hand from scratch, then I can create whatever you want these guitars to be. The only thing I'm holding on to is the outline of the headstocks and the outline of the bodies. But even like as you see with some of the bevels in here and the cutouts, those are all, optional or customizable. We can do different things with the tops here. That doesn't have to be like this with a Firebird kind of on the shadow here. I think I'm very fortunate to offer this, that we get to create whatever we want to from these guitars. And I have several designs of different variations of bevels and cutouts and cutaways, and we can change these around little bit by little bit to really customize it to you and your playing style or your body style, whatever it is. As you've probably noticed, I keep comparing these guitars to a Strat, and that is intentional. All of these guitars fit within a Strat body like an outline. And there's two big reasons for that. The first one is because I want this to work right here where it sits on your knee, for one. And two, I want these to be able to fit in most cases. So they have a not the formed Strat case, but like an open kind of rectangular area for the body in most of these cases. Um, so you can buy a case, a general generic case, and fit these guitars in it. One of the big problems with designing new and unique guitars is that they need their own custom case, and I didn't want to do that to you, at least not yet. Maybe further down the road. But it also goes to show you that the scale. So you see that it fits perfectly within that Strat kind of body shape, so that you know in comparison that like these aren't huge guitars, they're not tiny guitars, they all fit within that kind of general frame that you already know and may love. All right, next is the headstocks. So I have 3 designs, and we have a fourth kind of option that you can upgrade to with a headless design. But just focusing on the 3, we have a 3-3 like is shown here, which is a condensed 3-3. And then I have a 6 standard and a 6 reverse. The 3-3, I decided to go with a condensed kind of version like that, like an EVH like they have on the Wolfgangs, because ideally you want the strings to stay straight from top to bottom on the guitar. With Gibson headstocks or even like a D&V headstock where they split them, it's creating a lot of tension on the nut and like tension on the strings that's just unnecessary. So ideally, like I said, we want these strings to go straight from the saddle all the way to the tuning peg. And that's why I prefer the 6 and the condensed 3. But these are optional too. You get to choose if you want either of those 3, and those are all included in the purchase price that's listed. Because if I'm going to be building the neck, then I can just make it the way that you want it to. The only reason a headless is more expensive is because the bridge. All right. Next is neck construction. So the way I build my necks is a Fender style construction. I use one solid piece of wood. I don't use a scarf joint. And the reason for this is coming from my manufacturing and repair background. To me, it's so efficient and effective to do it the Fender way, because all I have to do is cut out the shape and plane down the plane the headstock down so we get a good angle on the nut. Or when you put a scarf joint on the neck, it takes it takes extra time, it takes extra effort to be able to do that, but also you're weakening that spot in the guitar. I know not everybody does that, and there are ways to go about it, but to me it's just, why go through all that when the Fender style works just fine? And especially I put string trees, or I'll put the bar right behind the nut to really pull down on those strings on the nut, which is the main thing there. And with the scarf joint too, like all that extra time and effort that gets put back on you, the customer, because my time is is priced at a certain point, so you're going to end up paying for that extra time on it. I do not want to be fixing broken headstocks on my guitars, so that's where having one solid piece of wood, the grain runs naturally through the entire thing. It's as strong and sturdy as it needs to be at that point. All right, the body shapes. So commonly, I don't know if you've noticed, but I do like to put that kind of carved relief in the back, just like on a Strat that sits right up against your ribs, because it's just so comfortable. So why wouldn't I put it on all the guitars? If you don't want it, then we don't have to put that in there. But to me, I recommend it just because it's such a great design feature. A lot of inconsistencies on these renders is where the output jack goes. Ideally, I want them to be hidden. I'd like them on the side like that, or on the back, or I'm even looking at different ways to be able to kind of put a bevel or an angled edge on the backside. But my goal is to not have the output jack seen from the front. I want to keep the top as simple and beautiful and clean as possible. All these cutouts and different bevels that you see here, those are just ones that I wanted to showcase because I think they were my favorite variations, but they don't have to be there. This Firebird style doesn't have to be there. It can be, you get to choose if it's flat or if you want to put a carve here or there, give more access here, less access here. So I want these guitars to be as comfortable, ergonomic, naturally conforming to you as possible. But everything is customizable other than the shapes of the outlines of the headstock and the body. So even the electronics, I've gone over several different variations here, and you have options in the pull down menus on each model of all the standard kind of electronics configurations. All of those are available for every design. I don't want to tell you how your guitar should be. You let me know what you want from your guitar and I'll put it on there. If you want 2 volumes, 2 tones, if you want a blade switch instead of a toggle switch, like we'll do that. It doesn't matter. This is your guitar. It needs to be the way that you need it. All right. And then lastly here, let's go over the finish. So the finish is really based on another principle from my manufacturing and repair background. We do not do high gloss finishes, or I don't do paint. You know, there's a lot of controversy around like how much the wood of the body has and affects your tone. If we just accept that it is, then why would we cover up with so much paint and so much clear coat? It just doesn't make sense to me. And also because there's this natural beauty in the wood that's unique from every guitar, and it's something that I can't recreate on my own. So I want to be able to showcase that instead of cover it up. And there's so many other ways that we can go about customizing your guitar as far as color goes. So we can do stains, we can do dyes, we can do translucent lacquer, nitro lacquer. I'm willing to do that because nitro is very thin. And we can do bursts, we can do gradients, so many cool things. If you choose an ash body, we can do a cerusse finish. If you don't know what that is, you can look it up on my YouTube channel. I did a black and silver one on a telly. There's so many cool things that aren't used by a lot of builders today. Like I said, it's not worth it to you, the customer, because all of that extra time and effort and materials that goes into not just prepping the body with grain filler and sanding and extra sanding, and then all those coats of paint and clear coat, and then all the sanding and buffing, polishing, all that gets put on you on the end for the price of the guitar. And I just, it's not necessary. We don't need to go through all that. And then lastly here, the last thing I want to talk about is the price. As you can see that it's put at a discount right now. This is where I want them to be able to release them out to everybody, to work with you guys, and to make sure that I'm still growing the business and growing in the right direction, running the numbers and looking at what I need to really succeed and grow the business and move it in the direction that I want to. This is where it needs to be priced at. For now, it's going to be at the discount, but in reality, you see like the $3,000+ price tag on it, the original price, that's where it should be compared to everything else in the market and what I offer and the quality. Putting it at a discount and customizing everything is where I'm comfortable at being and where I want to offer my services and these guitars to you. And then down the road, they will move up to the custom prices because technically these are custom guitars. And then I'll be bringing in the production line where I'm going to have to make some choices of standardization. Like this model's only going to be in humbuckers, or this one's only going to be in single coils, or this configuration, that configuration. And I'll have to make choices on, the scale length and frets and all that too, because we'll be looking at really mass producing these to a certain level. I don't really want to mass produce them as far as like Fender or Gibson goes, at least not yet. But we have to standardize things to be able to lower the price point to an even more affordable place. And, my goal is to really be in full production with these guitars, bring in a CNC machine, be able to knock these out even faster than what I can do right now, which is about a week on a guitar. And then depending on the finish, it might have to sit another week or two. But reality, you're looking at a month, but it can be expedited to even quicker than that, depending on what you want for the finish. All right, with that, I'm so excited once again. Thank you so much for sitting through this and learning more about the design. I can't wait to build one of these models for you. I'm so excited. See ya.